Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays. Today, we are going to be ranking the 13 studio albums from American power metal legends Kamelot. So, Kamelot was a band that I wanted to do for a very, very long time. They have three vocalists, with Mark Vanderbilt on the first two albums, Roy Khan on like the middle albums from Siege Perilous all the way to Poetry for the Poisoned, and then you have Tommy Karavik, their current vocalist on the previous four albums, the most recent four albums, Silverthorn up until this very day. Yeah, this band is freaking special, man. This is a band that is definitely one of, if not the best power metal bands to come out of the United States, and definitely one of the best power metal bands overall ever, possibly. They're definitely growing up to be one of my favorite power metal bands of all time. But yeah, let's not waste any more time. This will be a two-part ranking. We're going to be tackling 13 through 8 here on this video, and then next video we're going to be tackling albums number 7 through number 1. So without further ado, let's get started. So coming in at number 13, we have the 1997 album Dominion. So this album is the final album to feature Mark Vanderbilt on the vocals. This is their sophomore studio album. And the general consensus is that Kamelot's first two albums are their weakest albums, mainly because Mark Vanderbilt is not that good of a singer. And I'm one of those people. Except I don't 100% hate Mark Vanderbilt's voice. My biggest issue with his voice is that it's just not the type of vocalist that a band like Kamelot needs. And the band knew that after this album, and then Roy Khan would come into the band and he would be on their third album, and then the rest is history. But with Dominion, one thing that I can say about Dominion and its predecessor, Eternity, both of these albums have very strong musicianship and very vintage, old-school power metal production. With Dominion, my favorite tracks on this album are One Day I'll Win, Heaven, Rise Again, the instrumental track Creation, Sin, Song of Roland, and then my favorite song on the album has to go to We Are Not Separate. This might honestly have Mark Vanderbilt's best vocal performance with Kamelot. And yeah, We're Not Separated. We're Not Separate is definitely one of their most underrated tracks overall. So yeah. But overall, Dominion, a pretty average album. Kamelot have no bad albums, so I'm just going to put it to you there. Dominion is just very average. If you're really curious about Kamelot, then go ahead and give this one a try, but they've made way better albums. So yeah, Dominion comes in here at number 13. Number 12, we have the debut album, Eternity, from 1995. And honestly, you can copy and paste everything I just said about Dominion and apply it here. It's basically the same album, except it came before it, but you know what I mean. It still has that very old school power metal production. It has a okay vocal performance from Mark Vanderbilt, but it has A+ musicianship, and I mainly credit that to Thomas Youngblood's guitar skills and his songwriting skills. Yeah, with Eternity, I think it does have a few more tracks that I enjoy more than Dominion, but really the biggest reasons why I put Eternity over Dominion is that I think Eternity has better production quality and better musicianship. Like, I think the songs hit harder on Eternity than they do on Dominion. And those songs include Call of the Sea, Proud Nomad, Warbird, Red Seas, The Glee Man, and my favorite track on the album has to go to Fire Within. Again, another pretty solid vocal performance from Mark, but nothing really to write home about. Again, a very average album. If you're just really curious about the early era of Kamelot, like before the Roy Khan days, then go ahead, sink your teeth into it, but believe me, both of the both of the Roy and Tommy eras are much superior to that of the Mark era of the band. So, yeah, Eternity comes in here at number 12. Number 11, we have the band's third studio album, Siege Perilous, from 1998. This is pretty much the same album as the previous two records, but except Roy Khan is now the vocalist, and Mark Vanderbilt is not. And right away, Roy sounds very, very good on here. Um, he doesn't really sound like the Roy Khan that we all know and love, but this was pretty much his introduction to Camelot. I know he was in another band called Conception, who he's back in now. But with Roy, he sounds great, but he's not quite the Fourth Legacy or Karma, Epica, or the Black Halo Roy Khan yet. This is still a very experimental album. The band's still trying to figure out their signature sound. But it does have a lot of standout tracks on here. Millennium, Raiden, Expedition, King's Eyes, Iria, Siege, and my favorite track on the album has to go to Where I Reign. That song in particular has one of Roy's best vocal performances with Kamelot, if you ask me. Definitely a very strong song. And yeah, definitely better than than all the best songs from the previous two albums combined, if you ask me. But yeah, overall, Siege Perilous, very good album, but they made better records. So yeah, moving on. Number 10, we have the 2010 album Poetry for the Poisoned. This is the final album from Kamelot's to feature Roy Khan on the vocals before he would retire from the music industry in 2011 and then return to the industry in 2018 and reunite with his old band Conception. Maybe I'll do another video where I talk about Conception, honestly. Who knows? But yeah, with Poetry for the Poisoned, as a send-off album, I don't really know if the guys in Kamelot knew that this was going to be Roy Khan's last album with the band, but if they did, I don't think this is a very good send-off album. Like, none of the songs really showcase what Roy's voice could really do, like on some of the previous albums. And also the production is less than stellar. This is definitely the worst produced album of theirs since Siege Perilous, in my opinion. But the songs themselves are pretty good. They are pretty good. My favorite tracks have to be House on a Hill, which features Simone Simons of Epica. You have The Zodiac featuring John Oliva of Sabotage. Both of those collaboration songs are fantastic, especially with The Zodiac. Then you have My Train of Thoughts, If Tomorrow Came, and The Great Pandemonium, which are among the band's heaviest tracks. Then you have the 4-part title track, The Poetry of the Poisoned, which basically combines all of the dark and haunting aspects, all the best of those aspects for that matter, on the album. And then you have my favorite track on the album, which is the closing number, Once Upon a Time. Definitely the softest song on the album, and definitely has Roy Khan's best vocal performance on here. And honestly, if this were like a send-off song, this would be the way to do it. I wish there were more songs on this album that had songs like Once Upon a Time. Then again, I don't know if the band knew that this would be Roy's last album with them. Well, I guess we'll never know, but yeah, overall, Poetry for the Poison, not a bad album. It's actually pretty good. But yeah, definitely one of the weaker Roy albums, if you ask me. Now we're moving on to number 9. We have the 2015 album, Haven. This is definitely the weakest album with Tommy Karavec on the vocals. It's not bad by any means. I just think the other 3 albums with Tommy on the vocals are just much better. This is definitely the worst sounding album out of all of Tommy's records. Like with Poetry for the Poison, it just feels very loud and overcompressed and very unbalanced to a certain extent. Like too many things are happening all at once. It's kind of like what I would hear on the late 2000s, early 2010s Sonata Arctica albums. But I think Haven's just a little bit better than the Poetry for the Poison. mainly because I think Haven has stronger songs. You have End of Innocence, Fallen Star, the iconic Liar Liar. You have the title track, outro. You have Veil of Elysium, or Elysium, whatever, however you pronounce that, whatever. And then the three best tracks on the album are Insomnia, Under Gray Skies, and my favorite song on the album has to be the absolutely devastating ballad, Here's to the Fall. One of Tommy Caverick's best vocal performances, and without question, one of the best songs from his era. Just a freaking amazing song. What more do you want me to say? Overall, Haven, a pretty good album, but yeah, there's better choices on here. I mean, when it comes to Kamelot, for sure. So yeah, with that said, Haven comes in here at number 9. Number 8, we have the 2007 album Ghost Opera. I bet this will come to a surprise to many Kamelot fans, especially all the Roy fans out there. This is generally conceived to be one of the best albums, with Roy on the vocals, really the last of their classic run of albums that started with The Fourth Legacy. But with Ghost Opera, it was really the first album to feature that more muscular, darker, beefier production that Kamelot would experiment with on the ensuing albums, like on the following album, Poetry for the Poison, and on the first two Caverick albums, with Silverthorn and Haven. But yeah, Ghost Opera is definitely one of the better produced albums of these four, in my opinion. Everything still feels very bombastic and very over the top in many ways. I get a lot of Dark Passion Play from Nightwish vibes on here. Both albums came out the same year, so I don't know if that was intentional or not. Probably not. But with Ghost Opera, many of the songs are just hit harder than the songs on the previous two choices that we've talked about. You have Silence of the Darkness, Morning Star, Blucher, Up Through the Ashes, Pendulous Fall, Epilogue, which has to be one of their best instrumental outros or intros or whatever. Actually, one of their best ballads overall, one of their best softer songs. Season's End, Eden Echo, Love You to Death, the title track Ghost Opera, and then my favorite song has to go to Rule the World. This is one of the most overplayed songs on the album, and for very good reason. Roy's voice just sounds so natural and so genuine on here, and very haunting too. Like, he gets down in that lower range, which is the range that he was classically trained in. I read that he was originally a baritone classically trained singer, and it sounds like Rule the World, where you could definitely hear all that work that he did to get to this point. But yeah, Rule the World, absolutely amazing song, love it. So yeah, with that said, Ghost Opera comes in here at number 8. And so with that said, that concludes part 1 of my Kamelot album rankings. Stay tuned for part 2. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122 signing out, ready to dive and more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.